One of the worst things I think to feel is a sense of failure. So it's one of the worst things because you begin to beat yourself up. You feel guilty, sad, defeated, a whole host of things when you get to the point where you feel that you have failed. So it's not necessarily something that I would suggest that you hold on to, this idea that you have failed. Here's the good thing about failure, uh, as well as success. And here's where I think people kind of go wrong, and how it gets to the point where it costs them way more than it should. Well, first, let me say this. Whenever you are in an emotional state or when you're feeling something, you have to remember that all of your actions come out of that state of being. So if you are very, 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 very angry, no matter how much you try to control yourself or not, your actions are coming out of that place. If you're very calm, your actions are coming out of that place. If you're very joyful and happy, your actions, even the way that your facial expressions, everything are coming from that place of being. So when you feel that you have failed, there are a lot of negative feelings that are associated with that again. So how do you pick yourself up out of that? Well, first, you have to remember that you're the one who defines what failure is to you, right? So if you take a moment to think about it, an area where you feel that you have failed, who defined what just happened as a failure? Take a second to think about that. Who defines what just happened in your life as a failure? Did you define that, or did your mother define it? Did your father define it? Did your brothers and sisters? Did your cousins? Did your pastor? Did your teacher? Did your acquaintance? Did your co-workers? Did your boss? Who defined what just happened to you as a failure? Because most times what people do is they allow others to define failure in their life. So you get to tell me that I failed. Same thing works with success. A lot of people are very successful. They have money, they have health, they have a beautiful partner, they have kids, but they don't feel like they're successful. Why don't they feel like they're successful? Because they have allowed someone else to define success for them instead of defining it for themselves. You can be successful living on the street in reality if you have defined what success is for you. So let's use an example. Let's say that your definition, or let's say that you made $300,000 this year, right? You made three, and you're feeling good because last year you only made $50,000. Well, somebody who made $3 million last year may look at you and say, that's nothing. That person could literally look at you and say you're nothing because all you made is $300,000. Now the question is, what are you going to allow yourself to feel? Are you going to allow yourself to feel success because of this big boost over the last year? Or are you going to allow yourself to feel like a failure because of the accomplishments of someone else? Which brings us to the point of, if you're always looking around at other people and what they're doing and what they have, how can you ever feel like you've reached a level of success? It's impossible because there'll always be someone who looks better. There'll always be someone who's smarter, who has more money, who's taller, and who has more status. There'll always be that person out there. You have to define what failure is for you and what success is for you. I can't do it. Nobody else can do it unless you allow us to do it. If I could walk around and tell everybody that they're a failure and they felt that, we'd have a lot of depressed people out there. It's not something I would do, but I mean, seriously, there's a lot of people out there who don't define it for themselves. They would rather allow someone else to do it for them. And they're in this perpetual state of, just guilt and sadness and feeling like they've underachieved because they're looking for some type of validation for someone else. You don't need validation from anybody else. You don't need it from your parents. You don't need it from your kid. You don't need it from anybody else. The place where you need validation from is right in here. It's from you. Okay? And I dealt with that for so long because I felt like no matter what I get, I never feel validated. And a lot of this came from my own adoption story, which I did a video back a while ago, where I never really felt worth being here because I was given away after being adopted. And so sometimes you got to chase your own demons too, you know? So it didn't matter what degree I got, it didn't matter what accomplishment I achieved. I didn't quite feel successful. So I would just, as soon as I did something, I would throw it away and I would be on to the next, never giving myself an opportunity, never patting myself on the back. And so I always felt this emptiness. And I know a lot of people out there do too. You may feel that. But the question is, you know, can you look at the accomplishments that you have had so far? And can you say to yourself, I have been successful. I am successful. Look at where I am today. Or look at different areas of your life where you have been successful and pat yourself on the back for those. Right? Give yourself some credit. Define failure for yourself. And just remember that just because you fail doesn't mean that you're a failure. On the road to success, sometimes you're going to fall a lot of times. And sometimes when you make a goal in life, you may not necessarily reach the goal, but you've hit so many points along the way that you can look at those places and say, wow, I have been successful in so many areas. So I do think that as long as you aren't giving up, that you are achieving a level of success. And only you get to define how much that is. And I hope that you celebrate it. All right, everybody. Until next time, Hotep.